You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again, episode 2 of your bi-weekly options extravaganza, known far and wide, heralded around the globe. Some might say the best options podcast out there. I don't judge. They're all my babies at the end of the day. They're all my children, so I love them all equally. Whatever your favorite is, make sure, you're listening to the full network. So some of you like to subscribe to the individual shows. I get it. But then you're missing out on all the other awesome stuff we have cooking. So, A, for all you on-demand folks, make sure you're getting the full network. Then you're not missing out on anything. B, of course, if you're listening on demand, keep rating and reviewing. It really does help the legion of new folks who are discovering these markets and this content all the time. Helps them beat a path to our door. And then C, if you want to go above and beyond, join us live in the Secret Club with all the cool kids in there. Ask questions of all of our guests and hosts and everything else that we do throughout the week. And also, cherry on top, you get to participate in all of our awesome exclusive content. However you like, if you want to join us live and engage live, you can. You also get the exclusive pro podcast feed where you get all these cool shows just for you, like Options Oddities coming up tomorrow. We had Scott Nations on our pro Q&A session earlier this week. That was awesome, going deep into vol and skew and all the other fun stuff that was going. You guys had some awesome questions. That was really a fun session. You can hear a clip from that on our Twitter right now at Options over there to hear a clip. And if you want to learn more about listening to the whole thing, the link is there as well. theoptionsinsider.com/secret club. It's kind of fun. Secret's kind of out, but you know what? We like it anyway. Enjoy, have fun. theoptionsinsider.com/secret club is the place to go. And of course, however you consume this content, we don't judge. We like you all. Keep sending in those questions, those comments. We do love to hear from all of you folks out there. Let's see who we're hearing from on ye old program today. First, let's go out to a quiet, a sleepy, nay, a tranquil hamlet outside the hinterlands of Chicago, where we are joined once again by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the program. How goes your Thursday, sir?
Always a pleasure to be here. Doing well on a Thursday.
Doing well.
I'd like to get some more sunshine, though.
Yeah, we'll get there. It's coming. It takes a little while. I'm not sure if you've noticed. It takes a little while here in the Chicagoland area, but we shall get there. You know where the sun never shines, where it is always dark and stormy. It is the shores of Maine, where we are joined once again by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI, by way of the land of the pit. Mr. G, welcome back to the program. To you as well.
It is a pleasure to be here. I can't believe I was invited back. But you know what? Since you did, I'm here.
You know, we will put up with your audio shenanigans if we have to, sir. As we keep on rolling, it is time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for The Trading Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to The Trading Block, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down what the heck is trading, what is lighting it up out there, listeners. And, you know, it's been another one of those weeks, listeners. We had a topsy-turvy session there on Monday, and it has continued throughout most of the week. You know, the markets are on again, they're off again, we're rallying, we're selling off, we're rallying, we're selling off. We're in the former mode today, listeners. Apparently all is right with the world again today because most of the major indices firmly in the green. NASDAQ leading the charge once again, which again made our conversation with Scott Nations earlier this week so interesting because he, of course, created VolQ, which is that NASDAQ vol measure. And NASDAQ has been usually leading the dance just about every session so far this year. So an interesting place to look at some vol. We'll go into that a little bit more later. Maybe even on TWIFO coming up a little bit later today as well. But NASDAQ right now up over a full percent, 1.1% to the upside. S&P threatening the 1%, not quite there, about 0.85% to the good. And the Dow up about 0.6% up there. So a lot of green on the screen. So that means all of our vol friends ticking into the red yet again, even though maybe not as much as you might think. Let's get out to VIX land first. VIX, when we kicked off the show, a little bit shy of the 23 handle, 22 3/4. So were we going to break 20 handle into the teens by the end of the show? Maybe some people were thinking, or this week. So far, not so much. Down 3 points, though, from our Monday show, a little over 3, about 3.15 points. So 22 3/4 for VIX cash. VVIX, the vol of vol at about a 106 when we commenced operations here today. That's down about a point from Monday's show. So that shows you the froth kind of still there. VXX, who knows what to make of this product anymore. If you want a bit of a deeper dive into the madness of VXX, I encourage you to check out our options bootcamp program that we did yesterday. We're called When Vol Products Go Crazy. Kind of gave a bit of a tortured history of not just VXX, but all the other big meltdowns we've seen and just weird dislocations we've seen in the vol product landscape over the past, decade plus out there. So we talked TVIX, talked VXX, talked a whole bunch of fun things. Volmageddon. Check that out if you want more info on that. But VXX, who knows what the hell it's up to right now, but 25 1/4, up about half a point. Usually this is the time of year where you could say, okay, are the futures in contango or backwardation? That's obviously going to impact what you have going on in VXX. But now all bets are off. Barclays kind of just not issuing new shares for this thing. So it's kind of trading almost like a closed-end fund where it's just crazy supply and demand. You got short squeezes going on out there for short periods of time. All sorts of madness. Right now, it's up a half a point to 25 1/4. Some of our Monday show. What the hell does that mean? Who knows? It's insane times out there in VXX. Until we get some more guidance from Barclays on when they're going to start issuing shares again, I think we can expect this thing to be a bit of a strange beast for a while. UVXY at about a 14.35. It was off about a half a point. Start of show time. By the time we kicked off the show, it was starting to get some of that back. It's only down about 0.15 from where it was on Monday's show now. So UVXY, kind of a lost few days here from a downside perspective, which again, we're seeing vol listeners. I know it's not just all downside, but we're whipping around all over the place to the upside, to the downside. Movement is vol at the end of the day. So don't expect these products to give up too much of the ghost until we have some degree of certainty on the broad political and macroeconomic front. We had an interesting question in our Pro Q&A this week about, can you separate out the geopolitical from the macroeconomic and try to make distinctive vol indices for both? On the one hand, no, you can't. On the other hand, it's an interesting theoretical question because there are two very different drivers for what's going on out there. An interesting one. Again, I encourage you, if you haven't heard it yet, check out that Pro Q&A. We went deep into that with Scott. It was an interesting conversation. And again, VolQ, speaking of Scott, VolQ at about a 25 right now. If you're intrigued, he did hint at exclusively for our Secret Club folks, he hinted at the launch window for when we might be seeing some VolQ options finalists. I know a lot of you have been waiting for. The futures are fine, but you guys want the options. Those are hopefully coming soon, within about a month or so. VolQ at about a 25 right now. That puts it down 2 1/4 points from where it was on Monday's show. All right, that's a lot of table setting. It's time to eat, time to dig in. Let's go around the horn. Let's go out the way we came. Let's start in the uncleist of Mike's land, a.k.a. St. Charles. Mr. Uncle Mike, you got another Uncle Mike type of day after a few days that decidedly weren't. What's lighting up your tape today, sir?
I mean, just the S&P 500 in general. We're knocking on the door of 4,500 again. I think that's going to be the next tough nut to crack, so to speak. with where we're going. We're still down roughly 5% on the year for the S&P 500, which is, all things considered, and the massive run-up that we've had over the course of the last couple of years, it's definitely not a bad thing at all. Other things with which I'm looking at on here, looking at, we still have a little bit of a sell-off going on in the 10-year note. We bottomed out arguably on Tuesday. We'll see where we're headed from there. But for right now, getting on the boat with the 10-year note, the boat is going lower, so to speak, and sinking a little bit, but we'll see where it ends up. Also, we're getting a little bit of a rally again in silver. We might challenge the 25 mark. Of course, I look at SLV when doing this analysis, so we see that. I think the main story, of course, is still the geopolitical unrest with which we have. The fact that we still have crude oil at the 113 level. I mean, it's not at the 130 level where it was, but we do still have very high crude oil, and there's still buyers in that. So I think that's definitely another thing with which to not only keep an eye on, but just to watch rather closely. XLE, it's not the main driver of the stock market rally today, although it is higher. It is up by 0.5% on the day. We might make another run at 80 for XLE. Just depending, I think it's obviously very dependent upon where oil is. And if you do own some XLE and you're looking to get a little bit more income, and you're fine selling at these higher levels, it might not be a bad idea to write some premium on some XLE calls or some Chevrons or something along those lines, because right now in that space, there's some pretty decent volatility and it's at a higher level. Something to consider. Of course, it totally depends on your individual financial situation, whether or not that makes sense or not. But that is definitely an area with which I am looking, to say the least. And there's also that coin that I don't like, Bitcoin. It is rallying, so I will give it its props when due. So I'm not totally biased in my anti-Bitcoin sentiment, but it's definitely up on the day-to-day. So we'll see where that's heading. And that's what's lighting up my tape.
That's what's lighting up your tape. Indeed. Let's head on out now to the shores of Maine. Mr. Rocklops, looks like we maybe got another oddities contender here going around our chat. People talking about Vroom. People selling the Vroom 2.5 puts for 30 cents. The stock's $3. So that has whispers and echoes of the old EDU days, sir.
It does. Actually, that came across my radar as well. So I don't know quite what to do with that. What is it? It's a
This is Vroom Inc. I'm guessing something to do with cars.
yeah. You know what it is? I think it's a buy and sell used car type of website thing. Yes. The Room Inc. The Room Inc.
I was thinking Vroom, let's something automotive, but yeah, that's not as exciting.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's auto related.
E-commerce platform way to buy and sell used vehicles.
All right, there you go. So yeah, anyway, people are getting some put juice out here, sir. We talk about $25, $50 stocks that people get 25 cents on, getting 25, 30 cents on a $3 name. You know that might lure us to the dark side on oddities, sir.
Yeah. Well, you're back to your number again. You're back to a 10% premium.
There we go. That's all we ask.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody's paying 20 cents for the 5 call. So this has the whiff of a meme extravaganza, doing that risk reversal for a credit. So I know nothing about this name, but yes, it's definitely there is some paper. Yeah.
When has that ever stopped us before from diving in to sell puts on a name we know nothing about? What does this do? I don't know. These puts are juicy. Let's sell them.
Exactly. I don't know, but we're going to sell them.
It makes for good content at the end of the day. But I didn't mean to hijack your segment, sir. We can get to that on oddities with all the cool kids tomorrow.
It's okay. You hijack away. It's your show. You're going to do it anyway if you want.
Yeah, I just see when I see puts like that, they kind of catch my interest.
Yeah, I hear you.
If I'm busy while you're talking, it's because I'm blasting away at these. But go ahead.
So you asked me about Vroom, and then I assume that you want some sort of pithy comment about the markets, something like that.
Maybe if you have time.
You know what happened when VXX? You're talking about that. The only thing I can think of is do you remember the Princess Bride? And there's at the end, or there's that one woman in the square that screams liar, or was it the wife of the wizard guy? Oh my God, what's her name anyway? But this liar, I feel like they've taken the product and they've just, and they just turned it into just crap, because now it's just not a reliable thing anymore, yet it's still trading. So, and then on top of that, I hear we're going to be like, there's going to be a 2X kind of UVXY and a 1X SVXY type product again. So these guys are listing more, which I would argue are more explosive short-term ETFs. I guess the draw of the money is, it's too hard to put down. So I'm again throwing my hands up. Maybe it's just because VXX got too big, assets were too big, and they're freaking out, which that's reasonable. But how about canceling the product or not listing the product anymore or whatever? So I find that all just odd and troubling. But the fact that they could list more volatile vol products while VXX is not, adding more creation units to keep the product sort of in sync, as it's a little baffling to me. Call me baffled about that one. Don't understand why. I was looking on Twitter, like even Bill Luby, he's asking that question, and I'm sure some other people will opine on that stuff. Like what's the deal? I think it's a fair question. What's the deal going on with all that stuff? There you go. As far as the market goes, the Qs are back above before we invaded, not we, before the Russians invaded Ukraine. So I guess everything's cool. It's all cool. Everything's cool. Oil prices a little lower. The Fed's going to be real tough. I mean, I think the seminal event for vol was the Fed saying they're going to raise this week. They're going to be more aggressive. And then you had some decent employment numbers. So apparently all these, we forgot about and I think TOSAW could maybe recall, but like we thought this reopen trade would be something. They're going to lift all the mandates and restrictions, figure out just how to live with this COVID thing finally. What's funny is it's not a whole lot different from 2 years ago, but we'll let that slide. Because it's all the same basically. And go on. So I thought the reopening trade would be more bullish because basically people go back to work and all that kind of stuff. And we forgot about it because of this inflation thing got big and this Russian invasion thing got big. But that's still kind of, it does make a bit of it helps offset some of the just, dark and dreary tone that's coming from, Europe and the inflation picture. So anyway, that's kind of so I'll do is I'll add a little positive spin here, a little positive spin on what's going on here. Things are gloomy, but that reopening trade, like I forgot about it, to be honest. I'm like, oh no, just Russian, the World War III and all that kind of stuff, all kinds of bad stuff. So anyway, that's where we find ourselves, I think. So you have to. The market has a weird way of surprising everybody where they don't think they're going to be surprised. So you can call it liquidity or whatever else, but, and I think the surprise is to the upside right now, not the downside. So that it has a tendency to go that way.
That it does. By the way, it looks like people are bid out for these Vroom puts there. Their thousands are bid for 25 cents. If you want to get them off right now for 25 cents, they traded as high as 35 cents today. Wow. So I tell you what, I will put some in for 35 cents just for show content for tomorrow, Mr. Rock Lobster. I will let you know if I get filled. There's only 11 offered at 30 cents. No, people are terrified now. They're backing off. They see that huge bid. So I'll be there at 35. We'll see. Maybe I'll go in. Maybe I'll go in for 30. We shall see. But our listeners always luring us to the dark side here with show content purposes only. All right, let's keep on rolling here. Let's get it out. See what's lighting it up out here outside of cheapy puts. And let's see. So far today, from a major index perspective, it's kind of a whole heck of a lot of nothing. It's kind of a bit of a shrug your shoulders day. We got VIX at about 238,000. The ADV is about 572, right around the similar level from an ADV perspective to what it was on Monday. I think it's down about 3,000 contracts. So not a heck of a lot going on there, which again is kind of par for the course for VIX on these kind of slight up days in the market and gentle down days from a vol perspective. We don't usually see a lot of paper. It's when the markets are rocketing down and VIX is shooting up that we see the paper. SPY at about 2.41 million contracts, ADV 7.06 million. So SPY's got a way to go even before it hits half of its ADV. The S, 613,000, the ADV 1.7 million. So again, a whole heck of a lot of nothing out there. On the index side, small caps, IWM, 376,000. The ADV, 782. So yeah, most of these indexes have a long way to go to even hit their ADV. In terms of single names, though, that's where things get a little bit more interesting. You look at the single name list, and you might think we are exploding in some direction or the other. We're off 2% or we're up 2%, something crazy, because it is popping off from a single name perspective. First, we've got, by the way, it cost you 321,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That's an impressive amount of volume. Anything north of like 300K, especially start getting north of 320, you get into the top 10, you got a pretty active day. Around 350, you're blowing the doors off. So 321, nothing to sneeze at. That gets us to Uber. Uber is up about 4.25%, right around $34.50 right now. And number 10, haven't seen Uber in our top 10 in quite some time. Number 9, Baba. You know, this on again, off again, on again dance they're doing with Chinese names. I guess it's off again today because it's off nearly 3% after rallying earlier this week. But good for 329,000 out there today. Let's see where our old friend EDU is hanging out. Yeah, looks like I'm still going to be out, Mr. Rock Lobster. It's right around the level where I sold those calls. So looks like perhaps, unless there's a massive sell-off by tomorrow, perhaps my EDU odyssey has come to a close. Don't know what the hell I'm talking about, listeners? Tune into oddities at the end of the week. We've got number 8, our old friend Neo. We got to have an EV name out there, and today it starts with Neo over there at 394,000 contracts. Neo off about 0.2% today, right around 21.75. So not a huge day for them, but a decent day from a volume perspective, closing in on 400,000 contracts. Let's see, did they have a sell-off? Yeah, they opened right around $22, a little bit higher than they are right now, and they sold off to about $20.92. So they sold off about exactly $1, and then they have rallied back. So they had a nice little range intraday out there. That's obviously what's attributing all those contracts. Number 7, my old stomping ground. I've got a lot of interesting names popping into the top 10 today. Names we don't normally see out there. This is Intel at 406,000 contracts. Intel on fire today, up 5.5%, or right around 270, trading right around $51. So looks like they're perhaps having some deals going on with NVIDIA. NVIDIA going to work perhaps with Intel. That's going to be enough to lift them. Intel, 406,000 contracts. Number 6 is Facebook. They're kind of irregular out there now. Number 6 today, 458,000 contracts for Facebook. Facebook up nearly 3%, 2.75%, right around up $6 or close to it, right around 219.35 or so. So bouncing a little bit. See, how low did they get in their native? They got down to 186. So they have had a nice run from that bottom up about 35 handles or so. So they have recovered a little bit, but still, if you go back even farther, this thing has obviously been annihilated, listeners. It was trading 350 not too long ago. So yeah, from that perspective, quite the drubbing in Facebook. Number 5, AMC. All the symbol twins are back, and they're neck and neck again. This is the first time we've seen this in a long time. AMC back in the top 10 today. Been a while since we've seen it's all shaking it up today in the top 10. I like to see that. A little bit of fun, a little something different. AMC number 5, 471,000, off 3%, right around $20 today. Number 4, the other side of the symbol twin, AMD, right next to each other, neck and neck. And we jump up from 471,000 to number 4, 838,000. My goodness, man, chips are on fire today. Intel, we've got AMD putting up some numbers, 838,000. AMD up 5% or nearly $6, trading right around 120 right now, listeners. So a nice pop for them. They were trading 114 this morning, and have it popped now up to 120 almost. So quite the run here for AMD. My goodness. 838,000 contracts on the day. Well, on a nice 5% pop intraday. We'll do that for you. Number 3. Yes, number 3 is Tesla. 967,000. So Tesla's having a good day. Closing in on 1 million contracts. Not even enough for the top spot. Not even enough for the number 2 spot, listeners. So that's kind of day we're having out there. Number 2 is Apple. Let's see really quickly what is going on with Apple right now. Apple's at 1.09 million for number 2. Like I said, number 2. Apple's up nearly $2, right around 172 and change, about 1.2% or so today. Good enough for, again, 1.1 million contracts or close to it. I mean, something managed to topple Apple and Tesla. I think if you're a keen-eared listener to the show, you probably know what it's going to be. I mentioned a bunch of chip names already breaking into the top 10 today. And there's a certain name that I usually mention in the top 10 that I have not mentioned yet. So perhaps you can surmise what I am going on out there. But yeah, NVIDIA on fire today, up 9.16%, trading right around $280 right now. Chip stocks are on fire today here. Obviously, NVIDIA, kind of the rising tide that is lifting all boats. AMD on the move. Intel, again, breaking into the top 10 today. So big stuff. NVIDIA, 1.15 million contracts on the tape for NVIDIA. It's been quite some time since we've seen that. You know, the narrative has been up for NVIDIA, but actually looks like they topped out back in November at 333, almost 334. So they're still well below that. Of course, they have bounced nicely from their March 14th low, listeners. They were 213.30. They're 279.82 right now. My goodness, what a run this one has been on. So they are aggressively trying to get back to those highs from last year, listeners, and they are well on their way. Speaking of on their way, they are on their way still out there in earnings land. I know the bulk of the season is complete. You know, Matt and his team usually encapsulated in a 6-week cycle. We are pretty much beyond the end of that, but still there are names popping off. So we are still crunching the numbers for you. And some names popping off even this morning. Like, Darden Restaurants, Meatball's favorites. They popped off this morning. They were at 131 almost going into their announcement. They were pricing in 6.3%. They delivered, get this, 0.2%. But it seems like you didn't have to wait long to get some of that move, listeners, because right now they're up 2% on the day. So getting a little bit of that juice back, but still a long way from the 6% they were pricing in out there. Interesting. Let's go out there to what's popping off later this week and later today. We've got NEO popping off after the bell today. They were at nearly $22 when we ran these numbers earlier this morning. By the way, all these reports, hot, fresh, in your little hands, hot off the presses from our friends over there at ORATS right before showtime. So get on over to the website if you want to check them out in more detail. $22 is right around where NEO was as of report time. They were pricing in about $2.25. In the past, they moved $2.60. So a little bit less juice in NEO than we've seen in the past, which is interesting. This name can move out there. Let's get on out to everyone's favorite Dave & Buster's, that ticker symbol play. That's a good ticker. 44.37 is where they were trading. They're popping off later this week, 28th after the bell. They were pricing in $3.72. In the past, they moved $2.83, so about 90 cents worth of extra juice in Dave & Buster's. Interesting. A lot of vol in the in-person video game and drinking category out there. Let's get on out to CHWY. They're on the 29th after the bell. 46.15 is where they were trading. They're pricing in about $5.50. Get this. In the past, they've moved $2.92. Wow. That is a hell of a lot of juice they are putting into CHWY. Right? Let's see where CHWY's hanging out right now. They're at about $45, off about $1.20 or 2.5% today. So it has sold off a bit since we ran these numbers this morning. But man, that's a lot of extra juice in CHWY. Perhaps something is afoot out there. Lululemon, they have the sheer yoga pants infamy. I'm never going to let that one go. 29th after the bell, $310.50 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 21.25. In the past, they've moved 18.37. So again, a fair amount of extra juice in Lulu. And not to be undone, let's go out to good old Micron. Micron's the 29th after the bell as well. I remember this one being just such a hot name back when I was first coming on the SIBO. It was GoGo.com, bubble time. Every tech name, including Micron, was just soaring. People were fighting to get into that pit. It's still an interesting name, but it's perhaps lost some of that luster from those go-go days. And nonetheless, 75.65 is where it is trading right now. 608 is what they're pricing in. The past, they moved 470. So the order of the day, listeners, is a heck of a lot more vol. That is interesting because seemed like the longest time during the pandemic, it was just crush the ball as much as you possibly can. And you can never be wrong because they just come for it more. That maybe seems like that has ended, which is interesting. That's something we've been talking about with Matt on the Advisors Options Show and his occasional appearances on Vol Views as well out there. It seems like the vol worm has turned, at least from an earnings perspective. We got a couple more here. Let's go out to Five Below. I know that might be a little bit rich for Uncle Mike. He likes the dollar store, but we'll go to Five Below anyway. March 30th, before the bells, when they're popping off, they're trading $163 this morning. They're pricing in $14.16. In the past, they've moved 10, 11. So, wow, a lot of extra juice. And, let's go one more. My favorite, I don't know how much longer this ticker is going to be around. I think the Alliance is coming to an end. So let's go to the Walgreens Boots Alliance. I just love saying that. It sounds like a Star Trek race coming at the Enterprise. March 31st, before the bell, 46 3/4 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 2 1/4. In the past, they moved 268. So less juice on the pharmacy front. That is interesting. You could probably argue maybe we should be due for more, but hey, that's what the markets are for. Get on over there to theoptionsinsider.com. Listeners, you can check all this out. We do have updated season reports, even though we are waiting for the official kind of kickoff for earnings season to really re-rack for the new season. We also have the existing earnings trades reports tracking the ones that are still on out there. It looks like right now there's 73 long straddles, 60 short straddles, and 102 long calendars that they are tracking. Weirdly enough, no short calendars this season, even though they have done 76 short calendars total, just none this season. That's a trade we don't see a lot, the old short calendar. But you want to see all those results, the tracking, what they have on theoptionsinsider.com is the place to go. Meanwhile, we got to get on out of here and into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's do it. It is time to unleash the beast and see where the Eye of Sauron fixes its unholy gaze out there today, listeners. We're going to kick things off. I think the only fair way to say this is just holy Momo Batman, because there is a lot of Momo action going up right now. What is Momo, you might say? Well, that is the ticker symbol for everyone's favorite Hello Group Inc. Ticker symbol MOMO. Gotta love that. Yeah, this is the Chinese name in case you have not guessed out there. These names obviously have had a lot of volatility of late. Just listen to some of our other shows if you want more details on all the Chinese vol that we have been enjoying out there of late. Trading right now, $7.10, off about 5.25% just today, off about 40 cents. Let's go back on the year and see what's been up in Momo. And Momo a year ago, $14.50. So that sounds about right for a lot of the names we're talking about these days. It traded as high. Looks like 1633 was the high. That came on April 8th. Not June 8th, but April 8th this time. By the way, I do have a working theory on that June 8th. Maybe I'll get to it a little bit later, maybe on TWIFO, but what perhaps is underpinning all these mid-size and smaller names having their apex of the year around June 8th. Could have something to do with the Russell Recon, perhaps. We shall see. Let's get on out now to see what's going on the rest of this year here. Let's go 1578 again. Actually, I take it back. The high was 1633 on June 28th, so closer to our normal day. And then it kind of drifted there for some time. By December, it had drifted lower. Let's see, it was about $14 in November, so it sold off a little bit. Then it sold off pretty hard by the end of November, early December, down to about $9 and hung out there for a while until it sold off hard again just on March 14th, $4.80. Hit a nice low out there and has rebounded ever since up to $7 and change right now. So got up to $7.50 this morning. So, man, this thing had a nice run, almost $3, $2.70 from the low on the 14th and 15th there. So what did our Eye of Sauron find out here? Mr. Rock Lobster, someone is not playing in Momo today. They are coming for size. They came out. We first noticed our Eye of Sauron picked up a 5,601 block. Love the size of the 5 puts. So slightly out of the money, even though they were in the money a few sessions ago. 5 puts going up on the bid for 19 cents. That was a later print, though. So we said, you know what? Maybe there's more to this. So we sent it back to dig for more. We found 5,000 went up about 20 minutes before, also for 19 cents, and then more, and then more, and then more. A total of, as of the start of the show, 46,000 of these May 5 puts had traded today, sir. So they are not playing out there in MOMO today. It does seem like, and I haven't had a chance to go dig through all the earliest prints. By the way, this is about a 79 vol for the trades we were talking about there. I haven't had a chance to dig into the earliest prints, but it does seem like folks are just drawing an incredibly large line in the sand on this strike. Let's see. What is the ADV in MOMO? Inquiring minds want to know. It is 2,512 contracts. So 46,000 would be a little bit more than that. And by the way, it's still at about 46,000. So maybe they are a spent force for now. But Mr. Rock Lobster, someone drawing an unholy huge line in the sand on the 5 strike in May in MOMO, sir. What say you? Holy MOMO puts, Batman.
Oh, is this? I was trying to figure out, was this, and these were the ETF with all those weird names in it, right? Wasn't that this one?
Is that this one? Hello Group.
I thought it was an ETF. I could be wrong.
I know it's an ADR from China. I don't know exactly
it's
what
a China online social and entertainment company. Maybe they're, virtual gift service segment provide. Who knows? Chinese online internet.
It's like the old days, like .com day. What does it do? Who knows? It's internet. What does it do? Who knows? It's China.
It's China, which we know recently just means it goes to zero, basically.
Seems like it. Yes.
Yes. So I think now? I had to do a little research on this name. So this is what an unholy. Is this a? Wow. They sold. Wow, that is kind of line in the sandy feeling.
That's enormous. That's Mason-Dixon. That's pick your border of choice line, sir.
So what's funny is they destroyed the puts.
Yes, that's usually what happens when you sell 46,000 of something.
Like they're just the liquidity providers crawled back into their hole. Now the funny thing is, if you're a market maker and doing this trade, wouldn't you want to just buy a zillion of those puts in stock and just sit for like a month and see what happens? I don't know. It doesn't seem like too high of a backspread price, because the 10-day vol in there is 300%, and you could buy 46,000 of the 5 puts for an 80. Let's call it a 90 vol. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a terrible deal to me, I have to say. So I think 15 cents versus stock is like a little hedge, and you hedge it on 10 delta. I think you probably make money. But that might be a ship too far.
So you're saying, okay, I'm bid. What you got? You got 46,000 more. The Rock Lobster's here for you. That's what you're saying right now.
And I obviously the 19 cents was over 100 vol, so they got a little bit better price. But I don't think it would be a bad back spread there. But it's one of those things where if you back spread that strike, I think you make money. Also, probably the guy that sold them at 19 cents or the girl that sold them at 19 cents, they'll probably make money on those too, because it doesn't look like the stock wants to go back to 5. But that's what I would say there.
Indeed. We're going to come back to these. That's a whole heck of a lot of MOMO puts. What do you think about these listeners? You like selling them? You like buying them with stock, the way the Rock Lobster is talking? This is one of those areas where I could see a scenario where both sides indeed do make money, which is what always drives me crazy. People try to describe options trading as a zero-sum game. It is not. If you've been around it for any length of time, it all depends on how you hedge. Both people can make money on a trade. I know it blows people's minds, but they think of stock. They think of a binary thing. Someone buys it, someone has to sell it, therefore a zero-sum game. Options, much more nuanced than that. But I digress. Let's keep on rolling. If that wasn't enough of a weirdo newcomer name to the odd block, we got you covered. We're going to talk Coca-Cola, but maybe not the flavor you're thinking of. Were you thinking of perhaps Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific Partners PLC? Well, then we got you covered. Ticker symbol CCEP. This is a British combined bottling company for Coke bottlers out of UK and looks like other areas as well. So ticker symbol CCEP, CCEP. Trading right now, $48.50, up about half a buck. This is the name that a newcomer to the odd block, which is always fun. A year ago, it was trading not that far away from it. It was trading about $50.89, and it rallied all the way up to about $63. Looks like that came on June 22nd, listeners. And that was the high for the year. And they kind of bounced around there for a while, then started selling off. By October, $52. By November 30th, $49. And they rallied again back up to right about 60 again in January, and kind of hovered there until mid-February. And then I don't know what possibly could have happened in mid-February that would have shocked a Eurocentric name, but it sold off hard. It went from about almost $60 on February 9th, $58.96, down to, let's see, on March 7th, it hit $42.86. So they came for it pretty hard, but now it's bouncing back. Got up to almost $50 again earlier this week, and now right around $48.50. So Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific Partners, PLC. Had an interesting year out there. I'm guessing maybe they ship a little bit of their goods to Eastern Europe. I'm just guessing out here. Let's go to see what our Eye of Sauron found. You know, Mr. Rock Lobster, seems like maybe someone thinks this drubbing of CCEP is a bit overdone, because someone came in and looks like they scooped 4,500 of the AUG 50s, 5 O's. They paid a whopping $3.55. Man, that's beefy. But again, it's only a 35 vol. It seems like it would be higher, but that again, that's still out of the money. It is a $50 stock at the end of the day, but still, that's fairly rich for an out of the money call play that gets you out to August. You got some time on that. You know, you got about 5 months on that, but still, that's a beefy play. The stock was a little bit lower, 48.25. So they have already passed the Rock Lobster's first metric, which is, are they bid in your favor after you buy them? And that the answer to that is going to be yes. There are earnings in August, but weirdly enough, they're on August 30th. I'm going to go out on a limb and say expiration in August is not on the 30th. So I'm going to say these are outside of the earnings realm. They expire before that, which is kind of interesting. You're going to go all the way out to August. You're obviously going to get, and actually, no, the next earnings is August. So that seems like that's a long, there should be one in between now and August, you would think. But then again, this is a newcomer to the odd block. So intriguing stuff. Mr. Rock Lobster, looks like somebody wants themselves a wee bit of the old upside in CCEP, sir. What say you?
I'm looking at this one, and yeah, interesting. Like, it's a good old fashioned. I want to get long here, so in the last month we haven't seen that. So I don't know. I don't think it's an unreasonable thing, but we haven't seen like the straight out, I want to buy some out of the money calls because I think the stock's going up in a while, like for the last, 6 weeks, because everything's just been in the ash can, right? So, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't think this is an unreasonable purchase if you're bullish. The stock was $58. So, clearly this name did not like, call me crazy, the fact that the Russians weren't going to get any soda pop.
I'm guessing they sold a lot of soda to Eastern Europe because they fell off a cliff once that happened. My goodness.
I mean, I've never thought of Coke and vodka as a drink.
I guess the Slavs, big, when they're not drinking vodka, they're sucking down a lot of Coke.
Yeah, so. But I mean, the stock, was kind of, it's one of those stocks that kind of hum along, solid, pays a dividend, all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, it kind of hit kind of a wall here. So this is not an unreasonable purchase if you think that, kind of things sort of find their natural spot again.
Indeed. So yeah, Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific bottlers. Interesting stuff here. We shall keep an eye on this one as we go out to our final name. Also a newcomer to the odd block. Are we 3 for 3? Yes, we are. MOMO, CCEP, and now we end things off with ELAN. This is Elanco Animal Health Inc. Ticker symbol ELAN, ELAN. This is a pharmaceutical name for animals. So a veterinary pharma, which if you ever had a pet, you know how expensive that crap is. So probably a good business to be in. This was a subsidiary of Eli Lilly until a few years ago. Then they spun off, making them now the second largest animal health company in the world. And let's see, $27.11 is where they're trading right now. Let's see, a year ago they're trading 28.25, so a little bit higher. They ran all the way up to 37.5. That was on August 3rd. And then they fell off a cliff right after that. They went from on August 3rd, 37.5. By August 11th, they were trading 29.20. So they fell off pretty hard. I'm guessing earnings not so bueno there. Then they tried to fight their way back. September 3rd, they got up to 34.15. Bounced around that level for a while until November. And then they sold off again by December 3rd, $28. And they kept selling off. By February 8th, they got down to, it's like 24.14. That was their low for the year. Then they rallied back up to almost $29 on March 1st and sold off again when everything else did, down to 25.20 again on March 14th before rallying to where they are right now, 27.13. So it's been quite the topsy-turvy year for this animal pharmaceutical name. And let's see what our Eye of Sauron found. Looks like somebody, and again, this market sucked. So it's kind of anyone's pick your poison, what the hell they were up to here. Let me see if I can pull it up again. There we go. Yeah, we saw someone putting up the 24 puts. So as I said, these are $3 and change out of the money right now for 45 cents. The market when these went up, listeners, 20 cents at 90. So that's your first hint that this is not exactly a liquid name. It does 328 contracts a day. They put up 4,200 of these bad boys. So that's quite the market. The stock was $26.85 when they went up. Let's just see if I could see any more details on these bad boys. It looks like paper sold them for 45 cents. Yeah. Looks like they might have done them with stock, 68,500 shares going up at 26,965 at the same time. So Mr. Rock Lobster, we got, looks like puts in stock going up for 45 cents. That explains how they got that 45 cent fill. They did them with stock. When you have a stock leg, you can play around with the options execution a little bit because finding a 45 cent bid when they're 20 cent bid on the screen is no mean feat. Mr. Rock Lobster, looks like they sold these for 45 cents. What say you on these 24 puts in everyone's favorite name, Elan? This is the portion of the show where you speak, sir.
You know what? You know what I don't like about this blinking mute on this very fancy mic?
What?
It doesn't blink fast enough.
Oh, I see.
It blinks slow. So when it's blinking, the red light just hangs out there for a while and it fakes me out.
It probably should be a separate mute light, right? So you could see it and you know when you're muted and when you're not. Yes, I agree.
Or a mute button on the keyboard that really is blinky.
If you want to shell out that extra $40, as our listener showed you, it's up to you.
I find this so somebody bought puts in stock here. Interesting one. Like there's a.
Looks like they sold puts. Looks like they sold puts in stock here.
Do they sold puts in stock? Wow, that's even odder, don't you think?
Yeah. Either way, it's odd. Hence the odd block.
How much stock did you see? Ratio?
68,000. I'll put it in the chat. For you.
So they did delta neutral.
There we go. I put it in the outline for you.
No action, no real action. That'd be interesting to see what the Flowmaster thinks about that one. But
I don't see him lurking in our chat today. Otherwise, I would ask him.
You sell a put that's $3 out of the money, delta neutral. You're not expecting a whole lot to happen.
No, you're not.
I would say that is for the listeners, that would be more of an aggressive style premium sale. Somebody that. And also with the outside potential of taking delivery and they're shorting the stock against it. So that's, I don't know. I feel like there's some kind of 3D chess going on with that. Right?
Ooh, 3D chess. I like it. 3D chess going on with these Elan puts. Do you agree? Is this next level skullduggery here, listeners? Yeah, if you're selling puts and you're selling stock, usually, man, you're pretty much selling the ball at that point, which means you don't want a heck of a lot to happen between now and expiration in Elan. We're going to come back to all of these. Meanwhile, though, it's time to turn our gaze to you. It is time for the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the all-star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, everybody, let's get to the mail block. Let's pay off some of the questions we've asked you first. We asked you last week if you had to buy one option on WTI that expired at the end of the year, which would you buy? The DEES 115 calls or the DEES 85 puts? I cannot remember the last time this has happened in one of our questions of the week, listeners. It was exactly tied. 50% each, not 50.1, 49.9, nothing like that. 50% each for the 115 calls and the 85 puts. So I guess that's literally the definition of a market right there. Everyone's on both sides of that one. So, wow, that was surprising. Right now, given the movement we're seeing, it's kind of hard to fight against the 115 call, even though I was at the time on the 85 put side. And I think I still am. I mean, I think we're going to see some of these near-term pressures alleviated. And there also is a seasonality component to WTI, which a lot of our listeners pointed out. Like Ozzy said, the crude oil usually goes down around the 4th of July week. And some of them are all saying buy those puts at the end of 2023 when Pluto leaves Capricorn. I'm not sure what that means. We have an astrological trader going on out there. But either way, yeah, that was surprising to see the even split. This week, we have a little bit more, perhaps personal question for you. It depends how you line up. I know how the Viceroy would vote, but how would you vote on this? We're asking you this week. Some people refuse to trade options on quote-unquote cheap stocks and underlyings. Are you in that camp, or will you trade options on anything? Quite simply, what is your cutoff point where the stock becomes too cheap to trade the options? Is it below $15? Is it below $10? Is it below $5? Or do you have no limits because you're a savage? And I'm looking at the results right now, but let's go pick the brain of one Uncle Mike first, because he's a bit of a savage. If you think Uncle Mike, you think savagery, right? They go hand in hand. Mr. Uncle Mike, we know how the Viceroy would vote. He was an outspoken critic of options on anything under $10. Not a player for him. How do you vote? Are you in the Viceroy camp, or are you more of a no limits kind of guy, sir?
I mean, I would be no limits, but I don't know if I own any stocks that low. So I guess
what, you're not selling these puts on Vroom like everybody else right now? $2.50, 30 cents. How can you go wrong, sir?
I don't see how you can possibly go wrong. No, but I don't do stocks that low. So I guess I probably would be in that camp. But if there was a stock that I liked at that level, I would do it. Because, I mean, it just depends on where it's set up. Because like natural gas on the future side of it, $5.41. There's plenty of options that trade. And I mean, I know the contract sizes are far different. It's apples, and I'm comparing apples to oranges. I totally get that. But if I felt there was a way to make money on options on stocks that cheap, I would have no qualms about doing it.
There you go. You think our audience is there too?
I think they are too.
Got a bunch
I don't disagree with the Viceroy on many things. Probably 99% of the things he's ever said, I think, in terms of options and trading, I'd probably agree with wholeheartedly. He's the person I consider the smartest man in our business, but this is one to where I probably I'd be fine trading it if I felt it could make money.
Yeah, you and the Viceroy are very simpatico on many things. I have noticed that. We gotta get the Viceroy back on the hot seat. He's always a fun one out there for the pro Q&A. Let's go on out to the Rock Lobster. Mr. Rock Lobster, what is your vote? Below 15, below 10, below 5, or no limits, you're a savage. And then B, more importantly, what's our audience voting?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I mean, if you think you can make money on the options.
I have seen you personally sell puts on a $2 name. So if you voted for below 15, I would call you a liar.
I mean, I have a dumb weakness for paying it, like for doing risk reversals in DNN when I can get some of those upside calls for nickel and sell puts. So, I mean, so I think ultimately whatever you do, but I mean, it's again personal choice. Yeah, but I would say I'll just make it simple. If I think I can make money and the leverage still works right, then I'll do it.
So we got two no limits savages. Where are you voting, listeners? Get in there. You got about a day left. Right now, we got 40% of you are no limit savages out there, which I kind of expected, followed by number 2. This one surprised me. Below $15. So almost a third of you draw the line at $15. That far and no farther. That seems a bit high, but hey, who am I to judge? Below $5, 24%. I thought $10 would kind of be the runaway winner, and only 8% for below $10. That's usually the cutoff most people go to. Oh, below $10, it's a stock is an option. I'm going to trade the stock. But you guys are saying $15. Interesting. It's either you're a no limit savage or it's nothing below $15. That seems to be where a lot of our audience is falling out there. And let's go out to this one from M. Anderson. He says, why did you say on the most recent episode of the Option Block that you don't see derivatives plays like the one you outlined in Zim anymore? Has there been a change to the marketplace? Yes, that's right. We were talking about on the Odd Block on Monday's episode. We saw a huge print, and it kind of struck me as weird. So I know from past experience when I see a name out of nowhere that we've never seen in the Odd Block before, doing nearly 1 million contracts. Chances are something is up. So I pulled it up and saw that it was going ex-div. And I said, oh, okay, it's that is a dividend play. So yeah, the reason why I said that was because in the past, there used to be an enormous section of the industry. I mean, there was a whole exchange, the Philly exchange. That's pretty much all they did. They kept them in like the top 5, top 3 of exchanges day after day because they kept putting up this effectively nonsensical dividend play paper where people were just doing wash trades over and over again as a way to kind of capture dividends that they hadn't really earned. It was kind of shady paper. It wasn't illegal, but it left a bad taste in a lot of exchanges' mouths to the point where a lot of exchanges banned those types of trades and said, we're going to have limits on these. So you can't do them anymore. The one exchange that didn't do that was Philly because they liked that paper and they wanted to be in the top of the rankings every week. So eventually OCC, who clears all these trades, got around to saying, after a lot of pressure from a lot of exchanges like ISC, who used to call up this paper and say it was very shady, they kind of realized it probably was giving a bad taste to a lot of people out there. It didn't look good. It was distorting the numbers. So they made a change. You can't really do those wash trades anymore and get away with it. It was kind of about a little bit of a clearing loophole they were taking advantage of. But what you can do are verticals still. And that's kind of what we saw in Zim. If you do a deep vertical, it's almost analogous to doing a wash trade on the same strike, right? There is some risk to it because there is a vertical after all, and things could happen. You can end up somehow, something strange and cataclysmic could happen to the stock. It could get cut in half, and now you end up with an actual position. So there is a little bit of risk to it, which is one of the reasons why OCC hasn't gotten rid of that loophole either. They probably will eventually as well. But that's why I said that. There was a change at OCC, I think a couple of years ago now, where they kind of got rid of it. That's why you don't see a lot of those div plays in the numbers anymore. But they still obviously do pop up, as Zim is testimony to. All right, looks like we're coming up against this. So we're kind of going to do a combo of Around the Block as well as where you can go to learn more. There we go. There's our music. Before you get concerned, listeners, don't worry. We'll be back in about half an hour for TWIFO, This Week in Futures Options. We're going to talk all about futures options. We'll be joined by special guest, Mr. Tim McCourt. Usually when he shows up, he's got some cool new products about to launch. So we're going to break down. You guys have been waiting for some micro crypto options. They're coming. So we'll be doing that at 2:30. Secret Club folks, listen live. You got a whole bunch of fun stuff coming at you in between until we come back there. All you on-demand folks, just hit next on your device of choice. It should be there. Let's go around the horn. Let's start with Uncle Mike. Sir, what are you watching for the rest of the week into the weekend until our Monday show? And if folks want more Uncle Mike in their lives, where should they go? What should they do?
Watching everything geopolitical, also watching the 4,500 mark and watching to see if the 10-year note's bottomed out where it is. If you want more Uncle Mike in your life, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW. I try to put out as much content as I can. Also, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just type in St. Charles Wealth Management. And if you are looking for a financial advisor who delves in the option product, if it's appropriate for his clients, of course, feel free to visit my website, stcharleswealth.com.
There you go, stcharleswealth.com, the place to go. If you want, who doesn't want more Uncle Mike in your lives? Of course you do. stcharleswealth.com is the place to go. And Mr. Rock Lobster, what are you watching throughout the weekend, at least until Oddities tomorrow? And also, where should folks go if they want more Rock Lobster in their lives?
What am I watching? I am watching to see how much of this rally has legs. How long? How far can it go? Can the VIX go below 22? Everything is. You know what? Everything is in drip mode. Drip. So maybe all that will change. If anybody has questions about Option Pit, go to optionpit.com and go to our memberships. So call Ted 888-Trade01 and tell Ted that, hey, you listen to this show. Andrew is the best looking guy on Options Radio, and you get 10%.
Once again, you have messed up your own promo code. It is Mark, the real Mark, not that meatball, is the sexiest man in options. You call up with that one, and you get all the savings. You call up with that, whatever the hell Andrew just said, they're going to charge you more for the outright lie you just told to them. I mean, that's offensive to them. OptionPit.com is the place to go to learn how much you have to pay for those lies of Andrew. If you need a little bit more Andrew in your life, he'll be joining me again tomorrow. Options Oddities after Volatility Views. So join the Secret Club if you want to hear that. Meanwhile, we'll be back again 27 minutes now for TWIFO, and then back again on Monday. Another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.